In this video I want to talk all about Helldivers 2's stratagems, which ones you should use, which ones you should avoid, and talk to you about which loadout is best for automatons, which loadout is best for bugs, and some of the stratagems that can be swapped out depending on the situation and what kind of mission that you're on. So join me, we're going to head over and talk about the stratagems right now. Alright, so let's go through them. So the machine gun, basic stratagem, you can unlock it almost straight away. It's not worth it, really. It's okay, I've got it here. It's just not, it's not great. I mean, it's okay with bugs, as you see in the video here. This guy's just like mowing a load of bugs down, but really you're not going to get the chance to just lay here and actually kill bugs if you've played Helldivers before. Anti-material rifle I haven't unlocked, but my friends have used it. Again, it's like, when are you actually going to get the chance to lay down and just shoot? You know, it's not great. Stalwart, again, it's a low caliber machine gun, so while it kind of has a higher fire rate and everything, it's not good for automatons, and again, bugs, you're just better off bringing something else. Now, the expendable anti-tank is a very good, even though it's low down, and there are better things, as we'll talk about, we'll get onto the quasar and everything, but the expendable anti-tank is very good because you get two, you can drop them in, you get two, you can share them, but also, if you are fighting automatons and you get the dropships coming in, you can quickly fire one, pick up the other one, fire that. So you can actually take out two by yourself very quickly, which is something you can't do with the quasar because it charges the spear and everything. We'll get onto that, but these are actually very good. So even though they're kind of basic, they don't lock on, they're a very good anti-tank, anti-armor weapon to bring. Especially if you're in kind of defensive mode, because you can just keep dropping them down. They cool down very quickly, as you see, 70 seconds. Recoilless rifle, again, this is good. If you know, especially if you have you're squadding up and you have someone that's going to reload it. Recoilless is pretty good, but at the moment it's kind of pointless because you do have things like the quasar and the spear, and then, like I said, the expendable anti-tank can, you know, be picked up and used, so it's good in certain situations. Flamethrower, not worth bringing. You can find it a lot on the maps, and also if you're squadding up with people, this thing bounces. I found out that this bounces if you hit like a rock or something. The flame bounces and it sets your whole team on fire because they got really mad, so it's just not worth bringing the flamethrower. The autocannon, I have a friend who brings this all the time. It's very good. You know, it's a good sort of medium, mid-range weapon. It's not amazing, it's not bad. It's a solid bring. Heavy machine gun. This is good for bugs because it's very powerful. Not bugs, sorry, automatons. It's very powerful. It has a lot of armor piercing capability in it, and it knocks people down. So this is good if you're defending like the new missions where you have to hold the gates. Heavy machine gun is a good thing to bring. Alright, the airburst rocket launcher we need to talk about just came out. I used this last night, and it is actually amazing for bugs. Don't use it for automatons because it doesn't have a lot of penetration. It drops the bomblets, as you see in the video. But for bugs, when they're swarming you, you just fire one and it has such a big area. However, if you do fire at close range, as I found out, you will kill your whole team. But very good to bring against if you're on a bug map. Railgun, again, that's good. Railgun mostly good for automatons. Again, I have a friend who brings this pretty much every time. It's good to pierce any kind of armor, like the bigger bugs as well. But I just think that when you're going to actually craft a loadout, it doesn't fit very well in a lot of places. Spear is a very good stratagem. I like it because on automaton maps, it locks onto their factories from a long way away, so you can actually take out factories without having to go down there and get into the meat grinder and get absolutely decimated. So you can lock onto a factory, fire it, blow it up, and then you can go in later after you've called in some airstrikes or whatever and get the samples. But the spear, you would think with it locking on, it would be better than it is at bringing down the dropships. and the gunships, but it isn't, because you have to hit a dropship on one of the engines. And the thing with a spear is it has this really glitchy kind of lock on, so you know, it's hard when they're flying in, it's hard to actually just lock onto the engine straight away. You basically end up locking on firing, and then it'll be like and just hit the underbelly and nothing will happen. Then it will drop a tank off and then you're screwed. Let's move on to the orbital cannons. So Gatling barrage, it's okay. It's okay as a starter one against bugs, pretty much. The automatons are too armored for the Gatling barrage to do a lot. So if you're starting out, fine. Airburst, again, it's the same. It's too... it doesn't have enough armor penetration for automatons. So it's okay to... But the thing is, if you're going to bring the... the Airburst rocket launcher, is like 20 times better than this Airburst strike. Because the Airburst rocket launcher has a backpack with like 6 to 8 RPGs in it. It does the same thing. I would say it's better, so don't bother. The 120HE barrage is okay, but it's a bit... This is where we get into a weird... You know, the 120 and the 380, we'll talk about them together. I like to bring the 380 for just this sort of scenario. You can't use it a lot because it is such a wide spread that it will kill your team if you're not well coordinated and you're playing with randoms and they're just running in. You will just blow everyone up. It's very dispersed, but it is for kind of softening up a huge base like this before you go in. All those maps where, you know, you have the bug maps where you have deep valleys full of eggs and bug holes and everything. You don't want to go in there. The 380 is good to kind of throw ahead, let it do its thing, let it peter out, and then go in. The 120 is a weaker version of the 380, and the thing is, it's a bit too dispersed for 120, right? Because it hits and stuff, but it's a bit inaccurate. You know, it doesn't have the same kind of pounding effect as the 380, but it's too inaccurate for a smaller weapon, if you see what I mean. I would say one of my favorite orbital cannons to bring is the walking barrage, because like the 380, it'll walk forward from where you throw the grenade, from where you call it in from. So if you're going to attack an automaton base, for example, you can throw it and then it'll walk forward across the whole base. If you're being pursued to the extraction and they're like following you, you can throw it and it will walk like backwards and destroy everyone who's coming for you. Now, orbital laser, very, very powerful. It's good against bugs and automatons, but you can't rearm it like Eagles a lot, or like the other barrages. Like the orbital laser can be used a couple of times and then it's done. But the good thing is that it will just auto-target the most powerful thing, especially if you start coming up against Bile Titans. This is the thing to bring. This is a good kind of like fire and forget. You throw it, you keep running, and then it's just kind of like zzz, gets everything. Rail Cannon Strike, again, very good for Bile Titans or Hulks. We have to kill them, but that's all you get. You get the one, you get the single kill, and then it has a 210 second cooldown. So worth it if you're on higher difficulties, not worth it on lower. Now let's talk about the Eagles. Strafing run, very basic, good to start with, only really good for bugs. Now the Eagle Airstrike, even though it is one of the early game unlocks, is one of the best stratagems to bring just all around, because it cools down very quickly, it targets a small area with a lot of bombs, but it has a contained spread, right? So it's not going to go too wild, it comes in quickly, and it's good for killing automatons or bugs. Cluster bomb, again, with like the other cluster things, mainly only good for bugs, and at this point not worth bringing over the airburst rocket launcher, because that does the same thing except you carry it on you and you can fire more. Napalm Strike, again, one of the best stratagems to bring for bugs, but bugs only, because automatons aren't really affected by fire. They are a little bit, but this works best when the bugs are swarming forward, right? And you call it in, because it will lay fire that stays, and then the bugs behind will run through the fire, get set on fire, and it will kill them as well. So napalm strike is very good for bugs, not worth bringing at all for automatons. We'll get into that later when we talk actual loadouts. Jump pack. So jump pack is good if you're on maps that are kind of, you know, if you're making a light loadout, like a scout loadout, and you want to move quickly into high areas, it's good. It's one of those mid-tier where it's situational. Depends what you're doing. If you're just defending, no point in bringing a jump pack. But if you've got a big map with lots to cover, like lots of area to cover and objectives, the jump pack can be good because it can get you out of trouble as well, where you just shoot up into the air and you're like, see it, and then you call in stuff behind you. Don't bring the smoke screen. Smoke screen is no good. Bit glitchy. Only for bots anyway, because bugs don't care about smoke. They'll run through the smoke and eat you. It's supposed to affect bot accuracy, like firing, but really there's no... It takes... To use one of your slots for a smoke screen, your stratagem slots, is pretty neglectful. 10mm rocket pods. Again, this is good for automatons targeting. They auto-target the kind of largest, most powerful target enemy near where you threw it. So it's good if you want to try and take out a Hulk in that, but again, you might as well bring the laser or the rail cannon at this point. I mean, it's good if you don't get that. 500 kilogram bomb is one of the best stratagems in the game for bugs and automatons. It doesn't have a lot of spread. It's a single area, but it will take out a wide area with it. So it's good for taking out little, like lots of clustered bug holes, automaton bases, or if like you've got, you know, take out large enemies, and if they're coming in a pack, you drop it and it will just, you know, you only get the one bomb in that one area, but it is very powerful. So I like to bring that as my kind of precision target piece, where we're like, okay, there's a lot right there, we need to take it out. Orbital precision strike, you get it very early on. It's okay to begin with, and the rest of these, like, I wouldn't bother. So gas strike, only good on bugs because automatons don't breathe. EMS strike is okay, but you're better off bringing the mortar, the EMS mortar, which I'll talk about, because it slows automatons and bugs. But again, it's not worth bringing the actual big strike. Again, smoke strike, don't bother. HMG emplacement, I've never bothered to take this because usually you will find one, but also you need to be on the move. You know, it's not very good because you need to stay in one place on the HMG, and the game is about completing objectives and extracting. So it might be good if you're on a defend map, but those usually have turrets and emplacements, and then on automaton maps, they usually use the emplacements against you, so you can kill the automatons and then just use their emplacement on any reinforcements that come. It's just not worth bringing. Shield generator is the big one that kind of drops in. That can be good to bring, depending, but it's probably... If you're coordinating with a team, it's good, but you're probably mostly better off bringing the personal shield generator pack. Tesla Tower, it's a good weapon, but it has a very wide range, and if you or your teammates go near it, it'll zap them and kill them. So it's really like a area denial. It's also, you know, it's more effective against bugs because they can't shoot it. Automatons have weapons. I don't bring it that often. Now, the minefield is cheap and you unlock it early, but it's good when you use it in a specific way. I wouldn't bring it in every single loadout. I would bring it if you're on a defend mission and you know they're going to come in through certain gateways. It's very good, and that's bugs or automatons, because they'll all just walk over your stuff and blow out. Supply pack, we used it to early on, like me and my squad, but it's not really worth it because you can call in a supply mission, so you know, a supply resupply. Grenade launcher, Grenade launcher is very good. I bring this a lot. It's great at taking up bug holes. It can also factories. You can launch a grenade in the factory, and it's very good when you're getting rushed by bugs. So you can kind of take a lot out. It reloads quite quickly. Again, automatons are great. The great thing about the grenade launcher is the walkers. If you hit a grenade near their feet, they'll go down. So this is great for when you're getting swarmed. So depending on the situation, you can't really go wrong bringing the grenade launcher. Laser cannon, it's not really worth it. Use the laser cannon a fair bit. It's just, you might as well bring an actual orbital laser cannon. Incendiary mines, again, like the other mines, very situational. And it sets things on fire, which is better for bugs than automatons, but the normal minefield does the same thing. Guard Dog Rover. Now this is a very good sort of personal defense thing. But if you're playing with a squad, you'll find that the rover kills them a lot. It'll just whip its cannon around and cut their legs off and things like that. So it can actually do more harm than good unless you think about it. And especially like if you're squadding up, you need to talk about this with your squad, because if you all bring the rover, it's just going to be a friendly fire fest. Ballistic shield backpack. This I've used once, twice, and it's just like, it's pointless. Arc thrower is pretty pointless, because it sounds like a good idea, but until like it bounces off an enemy and kills one of your squad mates, and it's just not that great. Quasar is one of the best anti-armor cannons to bring, even with the recent nerf, so it takes longer to charge, because it's unlimited ammo. It'll bring down hulks, it'll bring down dropships. It's great. It's your one do-it-all anti-armor thing. You could all bring the Quasar cannon and you couldn't go wrong. It's very, very good for bugs and automatons. So again, that's a staple. Yeah, the shield generate pack is what I was saying about the big shield. You might as well just bring these because it recharges. Only worth taking on automaton maps. It's almost mandatory on automaton maps because of the sheer fire that they will deliver on you, but bugs, no real point for that because they'll scratch their way through it and just kill you anyway. Okay, so last up, machine gun sentry. Not worth it because the Gatling sentry is way better. So, you know, you might as well just unlock this. This is good for mainly for bugs, because automatons, the thing with any of these robotic sentries is with automatons is they will destroy them. But it can be good for automatons if you're on a defend map, or you're on one of the missions where you have to save the scientists and things. But Gatling sentry is pretty much, you could just bring it whenever with the bugs, because it's actually very good at defending against swarms of bugs. Mortar sentry, you have to be careful. It's very good. However, if you start to get, this is better to bring when you're fighting automatons, because they move slower. With bugs, the bugs will swarm your position, and then the mortar will fire straight up and kill you, and kill your whole squad and kill everyone, and it's just a nightmare. So it can be good, especially if you're on a sort of defensive mission, but situational, better against automatons. Guard dog, similar to the other one, it's not really worth bringing because you have the other rover, which is the laser. Autocannon sentry is very good against big bugs, and it's actually good against automatons like hulks and things like that, because it's very powerful and it has a big range. So that's a good one to get. Rocket sentry is the same, mainly good against automatons and walkers and bigger automaton things. It can also shoot down dropships, so this is worth getting for defensive purposes if you know you're going to get swarmed by a lot of dropships or gunships, because it will just automatically fire at them. The EMS mortar sentry is what I was saying about the other EMS stratagem. Is this if you're going to bring one, this is the one to bring, because even if it lands right on top of you, it doesn't matter really, and it will slow down if you're on a defensive map, especially against automatons. It will slow them down, in which case you can then call in other stratagems on top. Exosuit. So against automatons, this is not so good because the automatons will just mess you up from a distance. It can be okay, but it's just, you know, with the limited number of stratagems, it's probably not worth bringing. Against bugs, exosuit is very good, but you're very slow. So you know, you're not going to use it all the time because your squad will sprint off and you'll just be there, boom, boom, boom. So it's good, but it's not as good as you might think. So let's talk about loadouts. Okay, so let's talk loadout. In this case, we are we're fighting the Terminids, so we will bring one of the boosters. It doesn't really matter which, it's whatever you have unlocked. I'll bring this one. So for Terminids, I would usually bring, for what I consider the best loadout, is the 500 kg bomb. For that single target strike, I would bring the walking barrage to clear forwards when things are getting pretty hairy, and I would bring the napalm strike because it will take out groups of bugs very, very quickly and easily. And it's very effective. So this is a lot of offensive strikes, I know, but the thing with Helldivers is it's a very offensive game. So then the last slot, you would probably want to bring some kind of rockets, so or anti-armor. So if you're coordinating with a team, the airburst rocket launcher is good against bugs. If you're queuing solo and you're unsure what other people are going to do, I would bring the quasar cannon. This is what I consider the best loadout. So 500 kg bomb, walking barrage, napalm, quasar cannon. Now, if it's a defend mission, I would keep the I would either keep the quasar or swap it out for the expendable anti-tank because it's quicker. So if you're more defensive, I would also, if it's a smaller mission, I would remove the walking barrage and replace it with either the minefield or the mortar sentry. So, okay. So your defensive loadout will look more like this. So it'll be 500 kg bomb, quasar or some kind of anti-armor, napalm, and a mortar sentry. And that is if you're kind of defending the gates, that sort of thing. If you are on a mission where you have to save the scientist, the mortar might kill a scientist, so you will want to swap the mortar for a minefield is good because you can put it outside where the scientist is going to run, or a Gatling sentry. So scientists, this is your loadout. So let's take a look at a automaton loadout. Okay, so let's talk about the best automaton loadout, or the variations of that you can take, because it does slightly change. Again, take whatever booster you have available. You know, the Hellpod space optimization is pretty much the best booster to bring because it means you come out full on ammo, grenade stims, all of your special weapons have full ammo. Best one to bring, that or the vitality enhancement, but then again it depends what everyone else in your team brings. But grab one of those. So automatons, again, 500 kg bomb, great for destroying their bases, great for just in general, it will just flatten all of the automatons coming at you. Now, for automatons, walking barrage again, if you're on a large map where you're trying to take out their factories, I would bring the walking barrage because it will walk across and kill a lot of stuff. Then I would bring the orbital laser for automatons because it will follow the hulks around. It'll you know, if it kills the hulk, it'll move quickly between things, it will go over buildings, it will go over everything. And then for the last one, I would bring, again, I would not bring the airburst rocket launcher because it doesn't do a lot against automatons because they're very tanky. So I would bring the shield generator pack as a staple. So this is your general loadout. Depending on if you have a teammate that brings anti-armor. The problem with automatons is that they will bring like 500 dropships against you. So this is a great loadout if someone else brings anti-armor. If you're unsure or you're not sure what your team can kind of do, is I would bring, if you're like kind of playing random, again I would bring the Quasar here instead of one of these. So I would actually swap the Quasar for the orbital laser. So I bring the 500 kg, I bring the walking barrage, because that gives you massive single like area attack with a 500, and then a walking barrage to really clear enemies before, you know, you can move up behind the barrage to the base or wherever you need to go, or clear away to the extraction. The on automaton map, someone has to bring anti-armor, so if you're unsure, bring it yourself. If you're with a team, you know, the more the merrier though. So Quasar's good. Shield generator pack, also pretty much a staple. Can't go wrong bringing that, because you will it absorbs a lot of the laser damage. Now you can bring the Quasar, but realistically you're going to get one shot with the Quasar as the dropships are coming in. So it's the problem is it's your best bet, apart from unless you bring expendable anti-tank. But then if you're on the move, you're probably, unless you share that between like two of you, pick it up, that's great, but you'll have one shot with that and then that's it, you throw it away. And the problem, like I said, with the spear is that it doesn't reliably target the engines. So essentially the Quasar is the default at this point, until something changes, because even though it has a longer recharge time, you have to hit the engine. So this would be my recommendation on any automaton map, is to bring airstrikes, offensive stratagems like the 500 and the walking. You can also bring the airstrike here in place of something like the walking barrage, because it covers a slightly wider area. If you're not too worried about getting that big area, and you can also swap it out for the orbital laser if you think, depending on who your teammates are, if you think you're going to need that single, like if you're going to come up against a lot of Hulks and stuff. The problem is it has such a long cooldown. You use it once and then you're kind of screwed for a long time. But I would bring 2 offensives here for automatons. Precision strike isn't worth it unless you're new. 380 is too large unless you're taking out factories. So again, this is, you can tailor this based on what your mission is and if you're solo queuing or if you're squadding up with people you know. But as a general loadout, this is, you know, again, a good loadout for coming up against dropships. Bring the Quasar, bring 2 offensive, bring the Quasar, bring the shield generator. That's the best loadout that's going to get you through. Now, if your automatons against defensive automatons, again, you can bring, you know, some of these. If you're defensive against automatons, you can bring some of these, like Gatling. The autocannon's very good for maps where, like, the scientists and defending the gates and stuff. But again, on a normal map, you're moving too fast, so you'll call in the autocannon, you'll be moving across the map, and then the autocannon would just be where you called it. So I would avoid bringing those. Bring 2 offensive, bring 2 supply to help you out. That's what I consider the best automaton loadout in Helldivers 2. Hopefully this video has helped you. If you're still here listening to this, do me a favor, leave a comment, leave a like, leave a subscribe. I know it's kind of a joke at this point, but it really does help me out. So hopefully you enjoyed this video and got something out of it.